historically, B2B, the biggest roadblock always is, lack of um, leadership commitment, but
Yes.
especially in B2B. And so, what would you say to B2B organizations about building consensus and getting budget for projects in this environment?
It's a great question, and there are, and yes, certainly biased in that, in that, continue to be very bullish about the opportunity that B2B companies have to digitally transform. But yeah, I mean, look, there's only a few instances where I've seen companies, pull back. I think ultimately, leadership buy-in is the number one ingredient. A few years ago, when Digital Commerce 360 did a study on why companies hadn't invested in digital, it was really about that. That was the number one reason, that the leadership wasn't there. One of the things I am seeing emerge, and in fact, just some of my conversations in the last few days have been with companies that are they've what they've done is they're looking at taking portions of their business and creating almost bite-size MVPs of going direct to the end business buyer, in some cases direct to consumer. They're looking at ways to creatively bring product to market, or a digital experience to market, that are more I'll say kind of stair steps. And so I think there's a little bit of that happening, where there's maybe some of the a company looking at a $10 million digital transformation effort, a new e-com platform or what have you. I'm seeing the market look at things in a little bit more bite-sized chunks now, where they're looking at, some of them call them MVPs, or initial go-to-market, some of that maybe internally facing, or in some cases with bigger companies, it might be with a particular business unit or product group within that company, that taking a subset of the product line and going to market in this more direct way with certain products. And I'm seeing this amongst manufacturers in particular, where they've been sort of the furthest behind the curve as it relates to e-commerce and digital, where they're getting serious, and have been getting serious for the last 3 or 4 years about going enabling the channel, but also going direct to the buyer and finding ways to get closer to what that customer is telling them they want, because there's so many benefits to a company that has like that. It goes all the way back to product development, right? And how do you develop product that the end buyer wants, regardless of how it's sold, whether that's sold through Amazon or a distributor, or directly through the manufacturer's website. So yeah, I mean, consensus building is still important. I think more leadership is getting it than ever before, Alexis. I think it's just an imperative now, and even through a recessionary period.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I'm curious. You had three conversations today. You probably have 6 to 12 on a normal day. Is
Yeah.
there any MVP sort of small bite-sized initiative that you're seeing more than others?
Well,
Any
again,
trends?
yeah, a lot of it's about, there's really two things I'm seeing. One is businesses taking specific parts of either that's a single business unit, or it is a portion of a product line, and bringing that to market in an e-commerce fashion. So, and I'm speaking particularly in this case about manufacturers, right? Companies, large traditional manufacturers that are looking to get closer to that ultimate customer. It's not to cut out the channel necessarily, but it's really to understand, what that customer needs, also to protect their flanks, because at the same time you see distributors buying their suppliers and introducing private labels. So it's a really interesting time for both sides of the value equation there. That's one area. The second area I'm seeing is companies using marketplaces like Amazon and others to actually start the journey and build their digital muscle, right? So, and I'm seeing a trend towards, again, speaking more about manufacturers, companies taking more control of their presence in marketplaces, control of their presence in general, in places like Amazon, because it's become a search engine, right? There's so much search. 70% of product search is now starting on Amazon. So if you look at, the other major trend I'm seeing is companies that are employing existing marketplaces as a first step in e-commerce, right? So it helps them get their data ready, build their organizational muscle, the proverbial, the merchandising, which is a new word to many B2B companies. So So a lot of new skills and building the muscle around those new skills as well as the data. So I'm seeing both of those trends happening with some mid-size and some very large, manufacturers. On the distribution side, it's more about the next level and finding differentiation, because the e-commerce field in distribution, it can commoditize some product categories, and so making sure that you're delivering digitally differentiated experiences and then also delivering what you do best as a distributor is critical. And that a lot of that has to do with application knowledge, it has to do with product expertise, how to use products in the field, things like that, and extending your sales force digitally. So it's a bit of a different challenge and trends I'm seeing with different kinds of companies, but they're fairly consistent across industries, which has been fascinating to watch.